Hello, I'm Rick Winkler. This video will explain how you can easily find persons to add to your family search tree. These persons include distant uncles, aunts, and cousins, and also their spouses and in-laws. I will go over two ways to find these persons. One way is to find them through your recommended tasks, and another is to identify them from descendancy trees. So let's begin. Once logged into FamilySearch, you will be on your home page. On the right side, you will see an area called Recommended Tasks, along with a Records tab. This tab allows you to add records to existing persons in your family tree. From these added records, you will often find new persons that can be easily and quickly added to your tree. Some of these new persons will already be in the FamilySearch database, so in this case, you will be simply connecting them to your tree. Other new persons you add will become new to FamilySearch. To get started, click on the Records tab. You will now see records on the right depicted as blue icons. On the left will be persons from your tree that the records potentially match. To open a record, click on a blue icon. And then click on the first record shown. Now click on the Review tab. To better determine if this record pertains to your relative, click on Attach to Family Tree. With the side-by-side view now shown, compare the record data on the left with the data about your relative on the right. In this example, you can see that the names, dates, and places reasonably match. You can further look for matches by opening the names of the parents shown at the top right. On the left, we see that the record contains the names of persons who match the parents. Here we see Henry as the father and Mrs. Elizabeth Drew as the mother. And then down on the left, we see a Henry and an Elizabeth. At this point, we are very confident that the record pertains to the relatives. Now we will add the record and its data to the relatives. First, we will add data by clicking on the word Add. Then click on the Attach button. Next, we will drag and drop the names of the parents to be alongside the parents shown in the upper right. Now click on the word Compare for the first parent. We will now add any data by clicking on the word Add. Here we will add the residence. And then clicking on the Attach button. We will now repeat this for the other parent. Being that the record is from a United States Census, The remaining names on the left appear to be siblings to the person of record, namely John H. Drew. Here we see him as John H. Drew as the person of record. We add the siblings to our tree by first opening the siblings field shown on the right by clicking on the word open. We then drag and drop the names of matching siblings on the left to be alongside the names shown on the right. Here we see an Andrew T. Drew matching Andrew T. Drew over here. We now click on the word compare. And repeat the procedure we did when adding the parents, namely clicking on add for any new data and then clicking attach. Being that the other four siblings on the left are not shown to be on the right, we will simply add them. This is done by dragging the names to where they are just below the list of siblings on the left, and then dropping them onto the yellow space that opens up to receive them. We will now click on the word add that is next to the first sibling. A pop-up window now appears telling us that FamilySearch has found some possible matches. Looking at the top match, we see that we can be confident that this is a good match because the names of parents match. Here we see the names of the parents, Henry, Drew, and Betty. The name Betty matches for the mother because Betty is a known nickname for Elizabeth. Now we will click on the Select button for the match. Rather than click on the words Create New Person. We will now repeat the procedure of adding any new data and clicking Attach. We will now click on the word Add for the next sibling. A pop-up window appears indicating that you will be creating a new person. Note that the gender, date of birth, birthplace, and deceased status are all filled in from the information taken from the record. Now click on Create New Person. I will now add the remaining persons following the same instructions just given. From the possible match that appears for Thomas J. Drew, we see that the parent Henry J. Drew matches. To get more confirming information, we will go to the details page of the person in the match by clicking on his name. We now see that his marriage location and date reasonably match. Being confident, we will click on Select to accept this match. We will now add the data about his birth and the data about his residence, and we will click Attach. We'll now click on the Add button for Harriet E. Drew. From the possible match that appears for Harry D. Drew, we see that her birth date and birthplace reasonably match. Again, being confident, we will click on Select to accept this match. There is no data to add, so we're going to click on the Attach button. The result of this video demonstration is that the names of 4 deceased siblings were added to the family shown, with one of the 4 completely new to FamilySearch. For Latter-day Saints desiring to have temple ordinances performed on added persons like these, this can be easily accomplished. The following is one way you can do this. In the upper right corner, click on the parent Henry J. Drew, and then in the pop-up that appears, click on the word Tree. In the tree window that now appears, click on the little window that states the word Landscape. In the tree menu that appears, click on Descendancy. In the Generations window shown, click on 4. Now click on the Options window and make sure that all the icon boxes on the left are checked for viewing. Then click on the Options window again to close its listing. Now scroll down until you see green icons representing temple ordinances that are available. Click on a green icon. In the pop-up window that appears, you will see little green boxes indicating which ordinances are available for the person. Now click on the word Request. After reading the church policies that are written there, click on the word Accept. These ordinances are now placed inside of your ordinance listings that you can find in the Temple tab, which is right here. And you can find them under My Reservations. And here you see Stephen H. Drew, the person that we just selected for ordinance work. And they will be in your reservations for you to take to the temple by printing them out. Now going back to the tree view, clicking on 4 again for 4 generations. You can continue on and go down and select additional green icons and do as you did before. Now, in some instances, you will see the term possible duplicates will prevent you from requesting these ordinances to be completed. To resolve the issue of possible duplicates, first close this box, the Request Family Names box, and then click on the name Carolyn Rowe. And then you would go to her person page. And then on the right, you'll see, of course, some menus. You'll go down to where you see possible duplicates. So you would click on that. Here you can see the number 1, which tells us that, yes, there is a possible duplicate. Then in the window that appears, you click on the Review Merge for the data problems, which is possible duplicate. And now to determine whether or not this is a possible match, we want to explore these 2 side-by-sides to see if in fact they're something that we want to say yes, continue to. We can see that Carolyn Rowe has parents named Daniel and Mahala. And now if we go down on this side, on the right side, which is the right side is our tree, information from our tree. The left side is the possible duplicate. As we come down, we'll see that the Caroline row in our tree has parents named Daniel and Mahali, which is very, very much similar to what we see here. We also see that the family is from had a lot of dealings in Orange, New Jersey. And we see on the left that this possible duplicate has associations and dealings in Orange, New Jersey as well. So we have very little else to go on because the left side doesn't show, the left side does show a birth year, but the right side does not. The same with the death year. So we have very little else to go on, but I think we have enough here, in my opinion, to feel relatively confident that this is probably a match of a possible duplicate, or is a duplicate. So I'm going to say yes to continue. And now we have a chance to add information from the possible duplicate and bring it over to the Carolyn row in our tree. So you look down and you say, well, the Carolyn row and the Carolyn row is the same, so no sense replacing that data. Coming down, you'll see female and female is the same. The birth year we have here is a death of 1875. Well, there's no death on the right side, so we would replace the 1875 with the nothing over here on the right. As we go down, we can see there's nothing there on the left to add or to bring over. Same with the family, parents, and siblings. So we brought over from the left about everything we can bring over to the right. And so now I'm going to say continue. And then explain why you think this merge is correct. Well, here's your options down here, the different boxes. The first box is all vital information and relationship match, which is true, but this one says most vital information and relationships match. So I'm going to go with the most vital information and say add that, and that pops up in the reason for merge. So now I'm going to say finish merge. And so now we have effectively merged those two together. And as we come down, we'll see the possible duplicates indicate there's 0 now. So each time might be different as we come to more and more possible duplicate situations. So you'll have to do some detective work and compare the left with the right in the different data and then make a judgment call. But you do want to feel relatively confident. Now we will click on the back arrow until we come back to our tree. This will sometimes require you to click it quite a few times when you've had just dealt with possible duplicates. We can now click on the 4 generations again. We'll come back down to Carolyn row again. We see now that there's still a green icon, so we'll click that. And we can see that now there's only 2 ordinances to be done now, where there was 5 or 6 of them. We have the endowment for the E and then the SP for sealing to parents. The reason why we don't see the other ones being available to do work on is because the person that we had merged with our Carolyn row, that person had work already been done. So now we can go ahead and do the endowment and the sealing to parents. We see a little bit of a clock on these green icons. That means that the other user of FamilySearch who was dealing with Carolyn row and had some ordinances done, has submitted these ordinances to the temple to be done. So what the temple is saying to us, or the FamilySearch is saying to us, is that we see that you would like to do this work because you are also related to Carolyn row. Well, someone else has to turn them over to us, but because you are a relative, we're going to allow you to do them, but we're going to give you 90 days to do them. And then after 90 days, we're going to reclaim them as something that we as the temple community will want to do. So if we want to do that, we can, but we might want to just simply have the temple do them because we may have other things and priorities. So we can say cancel at this point, or we can request them depending on what our desires are. We'll go to Cynthia M. Drew. Here we see that we can also request the ordinances to be done for her as well. So again, we will click the request button and then accept the church policies there shown. And then those ordinances for that individual will also be placed in your reservation list as well. You'll notice that there are blue icons also shown in addition to the green icons. The blue icons are also records that can be attached, more records, additional records that can be attached to these persons. And you can follow the same steps as shown before in this video to address these possible persons that they could apply to, and go through the same instructions to add and find maybe new persons to add to your tree. There is no limit to how you can use this descendancy tree. You can choose other ancestors or other persons in your tree from hundreds of years ago and list them as Henry J. Drew is listed here. You could have a great-grandfather listed here, and then you could do a descendancy tree on all of his descendants and find more blue icons and potentially green icons where you can follow the steps in this video to put those individuals into your temple queue where you have your reservations. We will now go back to the home page by clicking on the FamilySearch icon with the tree. As previously mentioned, you can also find people to add to your tree by listing descendants of an ancestor. I will now show an example of this. I will also demonstrate another way to attach persons from records, which will be essential when dealing with spouses and in-laws. We will start by clicking on Family Tree and then Tree. Now choose Fan Chart from the Tree menu. Sliding the tree over, I will choose a fourth great-grandparent. Now I will pick on the word tree. Now I will choose Descendancy from the Tree menu. I'll click on 4 generations to be shown. So as you can see, there are many green and blue icons. I will now scroll down and click on a blue icon, a record icon. And now I'm going to click on the marriage record shown. Now I'm going to click on Review and Attach. Looking at the record on the left side, we can see that the mother of the bride is shown to be the person of record. Here's the mother of the bride, Elizabetha Dealman, and here's the bride, Caroline Katharina Dealman. Notice that the bride is listed as a daughter. We also see at the bottom the names of the groom and his parents. The groom would be Ludwig, and his parents would be Jacob and Louisa. I first want to feel reasonably confident that this record matches my relatives. We can see that the names of the mother and the daughter match, and that the available dates match. So we see this name here matches this name here, and the dates match reasonably well. And here you have Elizabetha, and then you have Elizabetha here. By clicking on the word record, we can see that she was born in, I guess we would pronounce this Zweibrücken. By clicking on the name of the daughter, and then the word person, we can see that the daughter was born in Zweibrücken. At this point, I feel reasonably confident that the record matches. So now I will choose Attach. I will now click Compare for the bride, or for the, you could say, the daughter of the person of record. There's no data to add, so I'm just going to click Attach. In order to attach the groom to my tree, I'm going to need to have the bride, Caroline Katharina Dielman, I need to have her as the new person of record. So to do that, you'll click on the word Change, and then you'll pick on her name. We see from this black triangle here that the husband Ludwig has already been in the system, and this is him right here. So what we want to do is go to him right now in the system. So I'll select it or click on it. And now I'm going to go ahead and copy his user ID by clicking on it and then clicking on Copy ID. And now I will go back to where I was. So what we want to do now is that we want to attach, or should say we want to add Ludwig to this Carolina Katharina Dielman as her husband. Now you may ask yourself, how do we know this Ludwig that here is the Ludwig that we want? Well, we can see from going back here again to Ludwig, we see that his parents were Johann Jacob Schamberger and his mother was Louisa Bali. So if we go back again, we can see that his parents are Jacob Schamberger and Louisa Bali. So what we'll do now is we'll select or click on Caroline, the bride, go to her person page, and now we'll come down and scroll to we'll add a spouse. We'll add her husband by clicking on spouse. Now we're not going to necessarily have to add him by his name. We can add him by his ID number. So I'll click on ID number, and being that we copied it, I'll now just simply paste it. And I'll say next. Now it tells me here that it did go out to the system and find him. So I'm going to say add that match. So now we see Caroline being married to Ludwig. So let's go back to where we were. Now I'll do a refresh on here. And we see now that Ludwig is now attached So from the record, he's now attached. The record is now attached to the Ludwig that we had before. Now we have his parents here at the bottom, Jacob and Louisa. So now what we'll want to do is to be able to add the parents, we need to now make Ludwig the person of record. So the way we do that is we click on the word change, then we select Ludwig. And then above we see where now Jacob and Louisa from the record are shown to be side by side to the Johann Schomburger and Louisa Bailey that's in the system. So all is good. So what have we achieved here? We thought that we might be adding some new people to not only to our tree, but to the system. We thought we'd be adding the husband Ludwig and his parents, but we came to find out that Ludwig and his parents were already in the system, but Ludwig was not shown to have a bride or a wife. So what we have done is united these people together into a family. So had Ludwig not been in the system and his parents not in the system, we would have added 3 new persons to our tree and to the system, and we would be able to do some baptismal work and other ordinances for them. However, we can check to see that ordinance work has already been done to the husband and to his parents. By clicking on here, we see that the temple ordinances have all been done. Now there hasn't been a sealing to the spouse for him. Now on here we see that for Louisa Bailey, all the ordinances have been done. If we click on Ludwig, we'll see that we have one green ordinance that can be done, and that is a sealing to spouse. So why all of a sudden are we seeing that needing to be done is because we have now united him with his bride, Carolina. So now obviously the sealing should be done, and we can do that. We can do that by clicking on Ludwig's name, then clicking on the green sealing to spouse icon, and then we see it down here. So we can click on request, and then we can request the sealing to be done. We accept all of the church policy by clicking accept. And so now we see that the temple ordinance for sealing to spouse has now been put into my temple queue where my ordinances to be performed are. What I have now shown is the importance of having to change the person of record. To recap, what we've done is I had to change the person of record to these different people so that I could show the parents and then I could show the bride to go along with the husband. So you'll find from time to time, depending on the record, that you'll have to click that change button and change the person of record so that their parents can line up here and a new spouse can line up below them. So let us go back to the tree view. Now what we have just done is a result of clicking on a blue icon. But as you can see, there are many blue icons and there are also green icons. So as I was stating before, listing out the descendants of a great-great-grandparent, you can see a lot of their descendants where work needs to be done. And these people are distant cousins in many regards. And all you need to do is simply add them to your tree by clicking on an icon. And you can see where this particular person, I can do all of this work right here. Baptism, confirmation, initiatory, endowment, sealing to parents, and even sealing to spouse. So I could spend a lot of time here now. I could start clicking them and requesting them. But I believe you see my point of how you can find lots and lots of people whose work you can do that are waiting for their work to be done. and this is a good way of doing it. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section of this YouTube video. Thank you again.